And we're in the split. Oh my gosh, look at this. It's time for new Bid Nerds. Welcome everyone to Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting car of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. My name is John Polnik, along with my host Michael Deeb in San Francisco, who you may look and think that maybe he's maybe he's an animation from one of those like Chat GPT, artificial intelligence, AI things where we don't actually have Michael Deeb today. We just have an animation of him. You may notice that he's kind of jittery. Don't mind that. He's here. He's in the show. We can still hear him, right? Can we hear you, Michael Deeb?
The bot version of me is actually way more entertaining than the real version of me. So this is an upgrade.
All right. Well, that's good. I mean, no one tunes in to look at either one of us. They're here to see the cars. And for those of you who are new to the channel, number one, thank you for finding our channel. We've got a lot of new members of the herd in the Nerd Nation, the Nerd Herd out here. So we really want to give you guys a shout out for those guys. For those of you who are fans of the show, thank you so much. If you've already subscribed, we love you guys. It's rolling on the comment section. Deeb, I see you finally started commenting in there.
I did actually finally. And how about our Spiker got 1,000 views in 4 days? That's pretty impressive. That's 5 times our normal take, so that's pretty damn good.
Usually we have like 4 people watching the show, and so that was 4 digits of views. And we're like, wait, why? What? I think it's because what's his name was trending, Doug DeMuro.
Yeah, Doug DeMuro. Isn't it ironic though that like the most obscure car gets the most views? Like, it's too funny.
What are you gonna do? Try not to mention how many views we get because that's just embarrassing, Deeb. Why would we want to say we're all excited about that? And I'm just going to gloss right over it. All right, guys, thanks for joining us on this show. What we do on this on this show, if you're new, we find the most interesting car from all these auction sites like Cars and Bids. You might be here because you heard of Doug DeMuro's Cars and Bids, or maybe you've already been a fan of that show, or not show, but auction platform. But anyways, bring a trailer, P-Car Market, whatever. We find the most interesting car. We have a conversation about that car, and we discuss why we think that car is so interesting. Then we get to the fun part. We make a prediction as what's going to happen to that car's auction. Will it sell? Will it not sell? Will it be a fail to sell? And if it does sell, for how much? What will it get bid up to? So that's the fun part, and you can play along. It's like The Price is Right. In the comments below, you can put in there how much you think it'll get bid up to, and then we go into the future at the end of the show, and we will reveal what happens with this car's auction at the end of the episode. So there's, we put our money where our mouth is.
JP, you had a great Freudian slip. Doug DeMuro's Cars and Bids is the Dog and Pony Show for sure.
I think it is. Well, he just got $37 million and bought himself a CGT. Doug DeMuro.
Did he really?
He did. He might be the most tragically uncool person in the world, and he owns some of the coolest cars in the world. How disappointing would it be to be like, oh, dude, a CGT, and then it's like some dude like Doug DeMuro driving around with his like REI sneakers that look like hiking boots but really aren't, and pleated shorts.
Totally.
It's just like it's wasted on a guy who's trying to figure out how much toilet paper he can put in the boot. All right, let's get to the most interesting car of the day. We don't have Doug scores. By the way, we're not good at this, so don't listen to us. None of this is advice. But the people who can give you advice, the people that do know what they're talking about, are our friends at Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. They really are experts. And if you are looking for a classic or enthusiast car, they're the people to talk to. So give them a call. Give Steve a call over there at Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. All right, Michael Deeb, I was pretty excited about this particular car that you picked. I didn't really dig into it deeply. Go ahead.
You called for it.
I called for it.
You requested this car because the other day we reviewed a Lotus Esprit V8 in a beautiful red color, and we were talking about how the design had aged for like 2 decades plus, and you said, yeah, this car is really pretty, Michael. You said, I like the way this car looks. You said it's way more beautiful than a 348. And it's interesting because I actually think the 348's aged pretty well considering how tragically 80s it actually is. So I thought, well, why not? Let's do a little juxtaposition this week and let's just pick a 348. And here's one on Bring a Trailer. So without further ado, JP, you asked for it, you got it. A 1994 Ferrari 348 Spider on Bring a Trailer this week. The car is offered out of Brentwood, California. It has 53,000 miles showing on the odometer. Beautiful full cabriolet. The car, at least in the listing, the seller notes that the timing belt was serviced in 2017, putting it 6 years since its last timing belt. JP, this is a car that you and I would agree, and we would urge anybody who's considering a Ferrari like this that is in need of a timing belt. Anything over 3 or 4 years, just take the high road and put a new belt on the car. Do not drive it off of the lift. Literally push this car from the trailer to the service bay and do not start it, because if that thing goes, this would be a massively expensive mistake. And I think 6 years, no matter how many miles or what the climate is, that is not something that I would, it would basically be engine grenade roulette if you started this car and the timing belt blew while you were literally idling it into your mechanic's garage. So this would be a do not start until the belt was changed. Other than this car looks really nice condition considering it's a driver. It's got 53,000 miles on it. JP, this is practically a regular used car. Beautiful 348. It's worth noting, John, that in 1994, Ferrari updated the cars, all of the 348 lines. So basically they went from like just below 300 horsepower to like, I can't remember the number. It's like 312 horsepower. So they got like 10 or 15 more horsepower. The rear track was widened by like a centimeter. I think they used slightly different calibrations for the suspension all the way around. Probably, an upgrade in the tire. And there's one or two more things I can't remember. I'm not hugely familiar with these cars. But they have, like I said, they've aged well. They kind of like the 964, John. These are cars that have been passed over for years. And so I would offer you a 348 Spider as arguably the last reasonably good performing, easy to drive, gated manual Ferrari mid-engine car left in existence. I mean, you can buy a 308 for less money, but a 308 is a maintenance nightmare. And don't get me wrong, this is a very steep maintenance car in its own right. But like the 308s and 328s are basically problematic. They're so old, you don't know the real history on those cars. You don't know if the motor's been rebuilt or what parts have been changed with OEM versus aftermarket. But like a 348, there's probably a good history on the car. There's a Carfax you can follow and that sort of thing. So like, kind of like the 964, they passed over for years, and all of the cars around this car have taken off. The 355s are a small fortune now, but you can get a 348, and in particular a 348 Spider for well under $100,000, and you've still got 300 horsepower, a car that handles really well, looks very cool, and is really, really fun to drive. And again, maintenance costs are going to be high, but the car shouldn't be too problematic. It's not to say that it's going to be a cakewalk. These cars are kind of a pain in the ass, but that's a lot of car for the money when you consider that you're getting a prancing horse and a gated manual and 300 horsepower. I think this is a great deal, and arguably, the way you called it, a great juxtaposition for the Lotus V8 that we looked at just the other day. So, John, I send this one back to you. Bring a Trailer, California. It's got some miles on it, so it's well broken in and well driven. It's not one of these cars that's going to have suffered from atrophy because it's only got 5,000 miles on it. Besides needing a timing belt, this could be a screaming deal. So, JP, here's your car, man. Would you drive red or would you hold out for a black one?
I really like this car. It's a Ferrari and it's got to be red. It doesn't have to be red, but I mean, you can never go wrong with a red Ferrari. Porsches are kind of the same way, right? I mean, a Porsche red, that Guards red is so classic, but I don't know. Guards red classic Porsches don't look as good as classic Ferraris in red. I mean,
no, not at all.
Ferraris just look correct in this particular color. And I remember seeing one of these. I sold a Jeep Wrangler years and years and years ago when this car was like brand new. This car was the contemporary cars, probably in 1993 or 94 when I sold this Jeep to this guy who came out. he looked at my Jeep, and he drove up in one of these. He was buying the Jeep for his like nephew or something like that. And I was like, oh dude, that's dope. I want to drive around in Ferraris and buy my nephews cool old, Wranglers and stuff like that.
Right.
The side strakes are so epically 80s. I've always loved them, even when they weren't loved, even when people were like, oh, poo-pooing on the 348. I've always loved this look. I think it looks better than the 355. I really do. I love those louvers on the rear.
How about
on
the
rear
throwing star wheels?
They're shurikens. You don't even know anything about ninjas, man. Those are shurikens, not throwing stars. Come on.
Okay,
I'm just kidding. I don't, whatever. Yeah,
Video
I love
culture.
This car. It's funny because you can make this car look like a 355. You can remove those strakes.
You can.
And
you move the strakes.
It really does look, but I mean, what I want to do is take a 355 and make it look like a 348. Now we're talking.
But if you put the 355 wheels on this car and remove the strakes, it all of a sudden it's like, holy hell, it's like the car got its hair did, it just looks totally different.
The thing I like to do, I do think the newer wheels on this car look really good. I like the shurikens or the throwing stars or whatever you want to call them, but I think the wheel from the 355 looks really nice.
I think
excuse me, guys.
I believe, and I could be wrong, and blow me up in the comments if I get this wrong, but I think these cars are like an alloy, and the wheels that are on the 355 are highly desirable because they're magnesium. And I'm probably, knowing Ferrari, they're probably cast magnesium. They trade for a lot of money because they fit the 348, the 355, they fit on the Mondial, and there's tons of Mondial. So any Mondial has the big enough opening that you can put the 355 wheels right on there, and it completely changes the look of a Mondial, whether it's a cab or a coupe. So the 355 wheels kind of make any Ferrari from that era look a lot better. And because of their precious metal origin, they're worth big bucks in the secondary market. They hold their value, but they will do wonders for a 348.
Being here in Las Vegas, being right next to SEMA, it seems like every year someone brings one of these or 355. It seems like the thing to do is to stance these out. And honestly, they look much better when they're brought down and some kind of wheels put in there to fill up that gap. It just completely, this car looks so much better when it's
totally
brought down. I don't know how difficult it is to put, newer coilovers on these. I don't know what options are available.
Pretty easy. These cars received really conventional suspension, so they're easy to do. 308s ironically have weird geometry and they're very difficult to lower. But by the time you get to the 348 and certainly the 355, you put a set of coilovers on there and give it the demon drop, and the car looks great. And you do enhance the handling because any coilovers have much more modern technology than what was being around Maranello in the 90s. So you're talking about 30-year younger technology, and they really do enhance the car. So it's a worthy upgrade. Just keep the old parts.
Let me ask you this question, Deeb. You know more Ferrari stuff and Italian cars than I do, and we lost your camera there.
That didn't take long.
That's okay. He's really we should just put a picture of you, a still picture in your little bubble there, since
there you go.
Since your internet connection is so poor today. You mentioned the timing belt at the beginning, and how detrimental that is if it fails. Have you ever seen one fail? I mean, I've seen like 944s, transaxle Porsches, those timing belts are known to fail, and I've seen them fail in the parking lot at the shop. Have you ever seen one go on one of these?
Yeah, I've never seen one go, but it's just because of the rebuild cost on a Ferrari, the hourly wage of a Ferrari mechanic, a competent mechanic that would do the rebuild, it would be catastrophic to the value of your investment here. I mean, if this is, a $65,000 to $85,000 car, you're talking $45,000 to rebuild a 348 motor. Like, forget it. What would you do at that point? I mean, you'd be better off waiting, scouring eBay in Europe, like in the UK or on the United States, and looking for a motor to just throw in there than rebuilding the existing motor. So it's just not a chance worth taking.
Or shout out to our friend.
They do fail. They can fail.
But shout out to our friend. Sahan Faizi. He would just say, LS swap the dang thing.
Oh, that's why, yeah. Which would actually be pretty ballistic. I mean, you'd make
Yeah.
a rocket out of this car, but it's really not too dissimilar to the 944. The transaxle cars. It's just a chance you don't want to gamble with. So
Yeah.
that's all.
Hey, looking at this picture, I don't know if you can see this on the screen here. This you can see the
Yeah.
Pininfarina badge.
Ooh,
It looks like is there overspray? Is this car been painted, or is that
ooh,
like
JP, really sleuth.
I don't know. You know, it's hard to tell looking at these photos here if if
Yeah.
that's just like a bunch of wax gunk that's collected around the edge of
When
the.
when when you're done, go back to that photo, JP. When you're
Okay, yeah,
done
yeah. Let's
scrolling
go.
through,
Let's,
I didn't notice anything in the comments, but I could easily have missed something. So I'll ask our herd to tell us if this car's been resprayed. But I didn't see anything when I glanced over it, so I believe this car is original. But heck, it could easily be repainted. But JP, here's an interesting Pininfarina Ferrari relationship thing. Do you see how Pininfarina is written on a plaque and the plaque is affixed to the car?
mm-hmm.
Okay, that means that uh, that the panels were stamped out of a machine. But on a Ferrari, namely like your V12s from that era, if the Pininfarina is just a chrome script and it's all like cursive, and just the script is on the side of the car, that means the car is hand built.
Hmm.
And that the panels were done by hand and not out of a machine, and hence they get the more elegant Pininfarina script instead of a placard. And that was true in the 90s. I don't know if it's still true today. I believe it is, but that is Pininfarina's little secret language, that if it's on a placard, that they didn't build the panels, but if it's on the script, they were handmade, and it's a coach built car.
Neat.
Cool, huh?
All right. Well, you
Plethora
mentioned some numbers
useless trivia at your disposal.
You mentioned some numbers there of a range of what you think one of these is worth. What do you think this one is worth?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I mean, that's why we're here. It's not just a good question; it's the question of the show, right?
That's a good question. I thought you might ask that, and so I made sure I didn't have anything prepared. Our car closes in about 3 days from now, JP. It's sitting at $50,348. Get it? And then it's just on 2 bids, so not a lot of action, and this car is going to close in a little bit. That picture you showed certainly looked like overspray, and so I just wonder, with the timing belt and all the other things, JP, I don't think this car is going much further. I'm going to give it another 12 grand, so I'm going to say $63,000. And there it will flounder. I think if it didn't look like it had overspray and the timing belt was done, this could be a $75,000 car, but I think it's going to come up about $10,000 or $12,000 short of that. So I'm going to give you 63 grand and tell you to choke on that, John. Where you at, buddy? Where you at? Come on, talk to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if that's overspray. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say that maybe that was just wax buildup in the crevices there. It was really hard. The resolution wasn't good enough to really see. But we are noticing, like these have the sticky button problem, and some of the door panels are kind of like wavy and everything. The car looks, like you said, it's not a pristine one. It's maybe been a driver one. I love the car. I would love to own one of these. Like I would seriously consider letting my 964 cab go to get something like this, because I've always wanted one. I don't know if I can handle the stress level of owning one, though, honestly, between you and me. And this one needing a bunch of work, how much is that going to cost? I'm with you. I don't think it's going to go much further.
You need to find the Tony Mazzagatti of Ferraris in Clark County. That's what
I don't know if there is one here. I know
an
there's a couple of places.
Affordable, competent mechanic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, shucks. I guess you said what? 63.
63.
I think things are softening them up. I think this car has too many issues. I think this thing's going to stall out. And I'm going to go 60. I think it's going to be somewhere in the 50s, actually. I'm shocked. I'm frankly shocked it's up to 50 already, if between you and me. I mean, it's just a Spider. If it were a GTS or a Coupe, maybe we'd find that.
We're going to ask our herd to find out, how do you say chicken in Italian for JP here? 60,000.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, it might fail to sell, too. I mean, if it only gets into the 50s, I could see this thing going back to the owner. What do you guys think out there in the nerd herd out there in the audience? Do you think our numbers are on point? Or do you think I've got this totally wrong? Let us know in the comments below. Now is the time for you to plug in your numbers. And then we're going to go say hello to our friends over at Porsche of Las Vegas. And we will be right back with the results of this auction right after this. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Porsche of Las Vegas and Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at this guy.
1989 linen gray metallic G50 cab.
Is that gonna be for sale?
It is gonna be for sale. The car only has 65,000 miles.
Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Porsche of Las Vegas.
If you love watching car videos on YouTube, you gotta check out my channel, The Rami Show. Oh, this car! I am driving a 2020 Lamborghini SVJ. This car, watch this. Oh! 115 mile an hour turn like it's nothing.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We took the future machine into the future, and here they are, the results of this, what I think is a really darn pretty 1994 Ferrari 348 Spider. Deeb, you got a big smile on your face. What are the results of this car? What happened?
It smells like a Yahtzee alert. Oh, JP.
It was close, wasn't it?
It was really close, man. I missed it by, story of my life, right? 63,000 was my bid. 60,000 was your bid. Honestly, JP, our bids were close and we were all over it. Our car sold on Bring a Trailer for $64,000. The result is not the number result is not the most interesting aspect. This car, John, did you notice this? It only got 7 bids and sold. That I can't recall a car selling on Bring a Trailer, for I mean, that's a decent pretty amount of money. $64,000 is nothing to snicker at. But just 7 bids, like not a lot of action, but the car sold. I guess everybody won because it met a certain reserve, whatever that reserve was. I bet you the reserve was your number. And the sale price, I was right there. I missed it by $1,000, but congratulations to the seller, congratulations to the owner, and congratulations to the platform. Everybody won, John, except you. So there you go. $64,000 brought home that Ferrari. If I remember correctly, you should tow that thing and get it serviced, and then go out and enjoy it. Drive the heck out of it. Bring it to Porsche events and let everybody sneer at you. That'd be rad.
I like that. Look, at 64 grand, people keep, how often, being a bid nerd, do you get asked how much things are worth? That's kind of a regular thing, of course, all the time. Yeah. But how much more often are you being asked, what's up with these crazy prices? Why are things worth so much? Oh, I got to get into the car game. And it's just, I think this is, this number, the car needing $5,000 with a service or whatever. Okay, big deal. On a car like this, that's not that much to get it going. But
a little more than that, but yeah.
Yeah, look, prices more than ever are not reflective of value, right?
Correct.
Prices are going up, but values are not. I say it all the time. When it seems like we talk about an SC at least once a week, right? And the prices of those keep going up, right? But 50 is the new 30. An SC used to be $30,000. Now it's around $50,000, even more for really, really nice ones, right? This car used to be, not that long ago, these could be had for under 50, and now they're somewhere around 65, 70. All right. That's about the same ratio, but the value hasn't gone up. It's just that the value of money has gone down.
Down. Right.
And people are searching for hard assets to put their cash in. At least I think smart money is. You know, everyone keeps talking. I mean, if you watch the talking heads on all the screens, they tell you that, oh, inflation is going down now. It's like, oh, okay, that's genuine misinformation or disinformation or whatever you want to call it. Those people that say that are lying to you. They are manipulating your ignorance if you believe them. You know, inflation is not down. Okay. If last year inflation was 10% and this year inflation is 8%, is inflation going down? Well, you know, or is inflation down? The talking heads will tell you, oh, inflation is down because it's down 2%, right? But not year over year for 2 years. It's up 18%. It's still going up, people. You're being duped if you believe that inflation is under control. They just passed another $1 trillion a couple of months ago on an omnibus bill. There's still tons of money being put into the system, and they're trying to raise interest rates and still print and tell you that they've got inflation under control. But let's go back to 2019, right? How much was this car then? A lot less than $65,000.
Yeah,
because
45 grand.
$65,000 bought you a lot more stuff back then. It's that your money is being worth, or the value of your money is being driven down.
Yeah.
So,
it's sad.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. If you wake up one morning, and the value of your money has plummeted, you know, is only worth half as much as what it was when you went to bed, which is a real possibility. Would you rather have 65 grand in the bank, or would you rather have this Ferrari in the bank, or, you know, sitting in the garage? At least you've got the Ferrari and you can go drive it. So I don't know. What do you guys think of the result? I mean, we said it before the break. I love the car. I'd love to own one of these. But you know, if there is a market collapse, which everyone keeps talking about, you know, is this necessarily one of those hard assets that is going to, you know, is this going to be worth anything? I mean, no, it'll never be worth zero. Prices may come down, but the value of the money is definitely going to go down further.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's sobering. Hey, but you know, why not drive around a bright red convertible Ferrari in the end of the world? That's what I'd rather do if I was going to do it.
Absolutely. Go right towards the light. You know, just drive straight. Put on your sunglasses and head straight for the light as fast as you can. Hair on fire.
Is that light the
nuke,
the Ferrari repair shop, or is it the 10,000 degree correction? Anyways, just a little sobering thought for this episode. Deeb, any other thoughts on this beautiful Ferrari?
No, I still think, you know, 348s are it's become the new unloved Ferrari, and so as we see prices go up, you know, as far as the numbers, you know, you start to think, like, is the Ferrari starting to get its due? But I really think it's more a reflection of just like you said, the rising cost of value, you know, and I think that's where we're at. So I still think it's probably the best deal for a fun car to drive under $100,000 with a gated manual in the Ferrari lineup. So you should pick up yours before they do really catch on, like 964s. What if 348s one day, John, were worth more than 355s? Could you imagine a scenario like that where now some 964s bring more money than 993s? I mean, that could happen down the road. I don't think it's going to happen, but Porsche did it.
I don't think that'll happen, because I think that what drove the 964 was the increasing value of all the air-cooled 911s, and the fact that they were a watershed? I don't know. It's like when they went from 964 to 993, that was a really big departure from one car to the other. Whereas the 348 to the 355 wasn't really that big a difference. I mean, the car is essentially the same car.
The car is kind of the same, but the motor is a big difference. It's a huge step in performance, like a really massive.
Yeah, in the favor of the 355, not the 348. Right. Whereas the 964 and the 993, you could make an argument that the performance on the 993 is better than the 964, but not as the delta isn't nearly as big as it is between a 348 and a 355. Right.
Which is why I think the 348 will never overcome the 355 as far as value.
I agree. I think the 355, it will always be one of the best values on, call it one of the more modern 350 or Ferraris. It seems like any Ferrari kind of before this really is kind of from an earlier era that's going to stay there.
True.
What do you guys think of the results of this 348? Is the end of the world? Is the end nigh? Is there going to be a market collapse? Or is there going to be a price collapse? Is there going to be a currency collapse? Or none of those things going to happen? It is all just a bunch of Chicken Little. Let us know in the comments below. We really do love reading your comments. It's nice to see Michael Deeb actually getting in there and having conversations with our fans, because they are out there and they're like, wow, Michael Deeb hates us apparently.
Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. That's enough.
Stick around for tomorrow's most interesting car of the day. Come and let's, see you tomorrow on Bid Nerds. See ya.
Woo! Get those nerds!